Good morning, everyone. It is November 21st, 2025. It's about 8:40 in the morning. It's Friday. All right. Wow, what a week, huh? This has been pretty insane, actually. So I'd like to go over what's going on first and foremost as an update to my trade and everything. Yeah, I absolutely got smoked, man. I got smoked. This chart has done some incredible moves, and I'm not exactly sure how to really explain everything to you on how incredible these moves have been. But we'll go through this. We'll go through the candles. We'll look at what the chart is actually saying, and then we'll talk about some things that are going on in the background. Because again, I'm not really into news. I'm into the candles really kind of speaking, their language. And these candles, what they are saying is something that is that I haven't really seen before. And it's not because it's the bear market or anything like that. And we'll talk about actually some of the craziness that's been going on in the background. First of all, this is the 12-hour chart. And what we were talking about before was possibly getting a bounce to kind of take these guys out over here. Well, excuse me. Well, that didn't happen. Instead, what we did was we now created another pocket right over here. This one right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide these next to them because these are going to be points of reference for the future. Okay, and if you notice, we are now completely at the bottom of the previous range. This is the bottom of the previous range right over here. And one thing that I mentioned was it could be possible that this whole thing is a range. Now, that being said, would I expect this kind of movement on Bitcoin? No, not at all. Not at all. This is actually bananas for Bitcoin. Now, we have had crashes in the past, some pretty significant moves down, but nothing like this. So before we start getting into all of this stuff over here, let's take a look at a lower time frame so you can see basically how crazy things have been. First of all, let me turn these off for a second so you can see what's happening. First of all, you can actually see the algorithm in here, and I've mentioned it before. Here's the algorithm right there. This is like a news play. That's a news play. And what's happening is this is another news play that happens. See, it goes up, it goes down, it comes back, it returns back to the mean. It is all over the place here. And the question is, why is the algo going so nuts? What's happening? And as it kept on going, like we started to get some really serious returns happening. So for example, like here's the wick right here. Notice it got returned. Every single one of these wicks, every one of them have been filled big time, except on the upside. So let's take a look over here. Let's go. And every time it seemed like it was going to reverse, it didn't. Not at all. There was just, it just could not break the structure at all. And then we got these things last night. I mean, wow, these are like straight liquidity grabs, and it just kept on going. So this is saying that it is not just news driven. There's actually something happening in the background, because remember I mentioned before that there are algos that are running and they really drive the chart. And truth be told, there's some news that have come out about how a couple of exchanges have depegged their stablecoin, and it actually forced liquidations, because instead of it being stuck at $1, it dropped down to, I believe it was like somewhere around 60 cents. It spiked down to 60 cents, which immediately liquidated a ton of people, like a lot of money. So that makes sense to me on why this chart just has like these really sharp drops. All of a sudden, it's like everything has just become completely nuts. Now, Bitcoin has actually broke through a bunch of structures, just straight on down. It cascaded. So let's just kind of like play this theory down. We've got the news, bad news, we're starting to go, and then all of a sudden we've got some software algo going nuts, and then we just kind of like start this cascade that just goes down, right? So we are now at the bottom of this range. We have to figure out exactly what the new plan is, because while this has dropped down, is it possible for it to drop a little bit further down? Yeah, absolutely. One thing that you have to remember is this, that there's a lot of people who bought Bitcoin up here, but there's a ton more people that have bought Bitcoin below. And from what I read, there was a crypto wallet that was very big, who's been holding Bitcoin for a very long time, who actually sold every one of its Bitcoin. I think it was $1 billion worth of Bitcoin since October, all in the span right over here. Now, how much of that moved the chart, I have no idea. But if you add those big sales mixed together with algos, mixed together with software, I mean, it's like kind of the perfect storm. But usually when there is some kind of drop, there is relief. And you can see on like these big drops here, there becomes like this V-shaped recovery where it tries to come back to where it left off, right? And even over here, like you could see it. Let me use a different color. You could see it. It drops off here and then it comes back, and see it revisits the top. I mean, this is not something that I'm making up. This happens all the time. You know, if here's a V-shaped recovery, right? And this is every time there's a sharp drop, it ends up coming back and hitting those spots every single time. Okay, so how far down it goes, though, I'm not really sure. At this point, Bitcoin's pretty weak. It hasn't been bouncing. We're getting a bounce now, but there seems to have been bounces that have gone along the way on the 12-hour that created a lot of wicks that were filled, and yeah, it's still dropped. So you can see here, we've got wick after wick, and they filled each other. Taken out, taken out, taken out. All of these wicks have been taken out, one right after another, right? And now here we are over here. Now, this section right here looked like we were building strength. If you see, these candles have a lot of buy pressure going up, but then all of a sudden, boom, we drop down. Now, I would love to say that this is a crypto problem. I would love to say this is just a crypto problem, but it's not. If you go look over at the stock market has been moving just as wild as Bitcoin has been moving. I mean, these moves here, the market has actually been moving exactly like crypto. And they're all in sync with each other. This is the S&P 500, and here is NASDAQ right here. And yeah, I mean, like, look at these candles that have formed. These are incredible drops, one right after another. And you can see there was buy pressure going up. It really didn't go that high. You know, again, there was buy pressure, and now here we are again. Now, the one thing that I can say is that this stuff is not going to last forever, but there is opportunities where you can get in and, take advantage of that. Now, we need to be sharp, really sharp. Could this be the bottom? Yeah, it's possible. This totally could be the bottom. But if I look a little bit further in the charts, let's take a look out here. Over here, usually when it comes to the bottom of a range, it usually touches the end of it, which brings us a little bit below 80. So if this is something where people are front running, then, could it be possible that it comes back over here and grabs some strength at this point? Yeah, it's possible. Also, see, this is the last line right there. This is the last line for it to hit. It can totally take out this candle as well. But I will say this, we are at this really, really crazy critical point in Bitcoin where if this keeps on dropping, we're going to see some serious problems. And that's a big concern, because we very well could come over here. Here's the next order block right over here. We could come over here. It's possible. But the question is where's the relief bounce? And that relief bounce could go from the bottom of this range to the top of this range right over here to take this side out. And then it can work its way back down if it wants to. Or better yet, what it can do is it can go from here all the way back up to here as a V-shaped recovery. This I'm unsure of at this point. And I really think that, what I mentioned before was that we have to evaluate. If we start breaking structures, we have to evaluate everything and really see what the chart is trying to do. And it's okay. I mean, if you miss the opportunity of getting along over here, there'll be plenty of longs that you could take along the way. You can even possibly short this area if you wanted to. I mean, we just need to see how everything's moving. This is a pretty catastrophic move. I mean, I haven't really seen Bitcoin drop like this. Now, again, I've said before that there have been drops in the past, but not like this. This has been like the slowest drip to a really fast down pressure. So this is where we need to stay alert. We have to stay alert right over here. Is it worth the swing? Yeah, possibly. But honestly, the way that these charts have been moving, and with the S&P 500, if the S&P 500, the stock market continues to move down, which again, it's been running hot. It's been running very hot. It's been in this channel. You can see we broke out of this channel now. Is this the range that we're looking for? Is that the big range that's the change of direction? Right now, it's starting to feel like it's a V shape, like this. Could it come down here? And if it does come down here, what is that going to do to Bitcoin if everything has been so connected to each other? So right now, there's a lot of uncertainty. And of course, there's a lot of fear in the market. But this is when it's important that you have some dry powder on the side and you figure out what a good plan is to take advantage of an opportunity. Look, if we get a nice bounce, we get a bounce all the way up here, right? Could it be that Bitcoin bounces as well? Yeah, it's possible. And we're talking about a pretty significant move. If you got in right now, I mean, that would be almost a 27% move if that's the way that it's going to run. If Bitcoin is feeling super weak, I mean, we possibly can come over here for a 10% move, you know? So just think about it in those zones. But yeah, everybody is, you know, from what I see out there in the market, everybody is trying to figure out what exactly is happening. And the truth is that it's not just one person selling. It's not retail selling. The algos are going nuts. Everything is has been working really differently this drop. Yeah, so we need to stay sharp. We need to look for that opportunity. We are at the bottom of the range here. You know, what I would say is probably the best, like the best solution at this point is to buy spot. Trading leverage right now, people have been getting wiped out left and right. Should you short from here? I don't think so. Should you long from here? I mean, you got a better chance of it going up than down, but yeah. So we need to hold out, think about what's happening, and go from there. I am looking at these two parts right here. These parts right here are important, I feel, as the last line of support. So if we get a little bit lower, I may try to take a swing at, you know, buying down here at the bottom of this range. The other thing that I'm going to do is the next time you see my chart, I'm going to revise this a little bit more so that I can include this whole thing as a range. This could be possible that this is a complete range. And if it is a complete range, well, yeah, there are plenty of times in Bitcoin's history where it's gone from one side, you know, did a double bounce here, double bounce right over here, and it's gone all the way back to the bottom of the range in a straight line, right? But if you notice, we always have this kind of V-shaped recovery and we come back to revisit. So could it do that? Could it come back and do all of that? Let's see. But in the meantime, what I am focused on is this area right over here. This is the area that I'm focused on because of this sharp move down. And again, I don't know. Maybe the market maker has been hit so hard, and from what I understand, you know, some of these moves that have been done, not only, I mean, the stock market, you know, some of these companies in the stock market that have crypto are struggling right now as well as with crypto treasuries, and there's a lot of news that's coming out about that stuff. So, you know, normally what happens is that when there's like a pattern that happens, when there's volatility, it could go like this, and it actually starts to settle out. So we need to wait for it to settle out to figure out exactly what's happening. If you like the rush of catching these things and, you know, really playing the volatility to your favor, then, you know, so be it. You know, it's you know, you got to work your chart. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hang out for a minute. I'm not throwing my you know, my gloves up in the air, or I'm not hanging my gloves up. What I am is I'm trying to be smart with the capital that I have at this point. Something didn't work over here. Something broke. This whole thing feels like it's broken. So could it reallocate itself and then fix itself? Yeah, absolutely. I don't think this is dead forever. But again, I'm not really sure if we go lower from here. I'm not really sure if we go higher. These moves have been have a pretty big effect on people. But again, you know, we're still stuck in this whole space right over here. And truth be told, like, even if we come down to the bottom here, if this is the range, we didn't break structure, this is still considered bullish, right? You know, people are saying that it's bearish, but it only gets bearish when it actually breaks this candle right here. Because if you notice, if that's the full thing, this is where actually the market structure will break. At that point, yeah, we really need to talk about what's next and how to handle the bear market. All right, guys, that's it for now. I hope you're all being safe. We'll see what today brings. And yeah, thanks so much.